Now I will get started. The first speaker will be Filip, and he's going to give a lecture about his lecture on the path to phenomenological biology.
Thank you. So, to start with the talk, I will quote Thomas Kuhn, the classics in philosophy of science, and it will be somehow useful as a kickoff. Those unwilling or unable to accommodate the word to paradigm must proceed in isolation or attach themselves to some other group. Historically, they have often simply stayed in the departments of philosophy. So, I think this is very good label for several of us who were introduced to Portmann's school of thought, and they didn't make it to biology proper, but they are doing something like philosophy of biology. But please remember Kuhn's notion of paradigm, and it will be important for my task in this presentation to discuss what's actually the position of Portmann's teaching, his biology, philosophy, somewhere with me. So just to give very brief overview of Portmann's work and findings. We can basically distinguish two different phases in his career. It would be pre-war phase with basic biological findings, which are really characteristic for his work. And probably the main one is his classification of altracial and precocial types of the ontogeny of birds and mammals. Altracial in German is Nestbocker and precocial is Nestblüter. So the example of altracial bird in ontogeny of bird is the nestling on the left. So as you can see, it's flat. The senses are not developed to the stage that they could be operating, and it's also typical that there is like a relatively large number of offsprings in one litter, in one nest. On the other hand, if you see the kitchen on the right, so very, very early after it hatches from the egg, it's able to care for itself, it's move freely, and it's not fully dependent on its parents. So Portmann found out that precocial form is evolutionary ancestor among birds, but it's the other way, it's mammals, it's evolutionary descendant in the evolution of mammals. Another empirical claim what was made by Portmann in this period, and which is really quite revealing, is so-called semantic role of some organs on the mammalian body form. So he says that they are attached to both main poles of mammalian body, to the front one, which is basically the head. So all important senses are, of course, centered on our head, and it's the center of the communication. But there is also the opposite part, which is the posterior part of the mammalian body, and quite often there are also some signals or communication items, especially with conspecifics. So it can be in the case of cats, communication by movements of tail and so on. So as some overall characterization of this period, we can say that Portmann is doing almost classical biological science, and he's really focused on empirical claims. But in post-war phase, he's moving to some other fields. During war, he discussed the problem of the ontogeny of humans, and Karen and Andres will talk in detail about this. All the time after World War II, he's using this claim for some general overview of anthropology, which he calls fundamental anthropology. This program of fundamental anthropology is meant to unite fields of biology, physiology, anthropology, and humanities. And the other endeavor of Adolf Portmann in post-war phase, I propose to call phenomenological biology. He is still doing like proper biology, but it's quite significant that most of his books are now aimed to intellectual public rather than for field specialists. And it seems that he is well aware of his position, which is gonna be somehow unique in the field because the movement of the core biology is making different direction, and he wants to attach his work with other disciplines, quite often with philosophy and so on, because he thinks he will have probably more sensitive audience there. And one of his crucial work, Animals as Social Beings, is quite a good example of this. It's there are very nice findings about ethology, but his attempt here is to apply phenomenological method. He doesn't want like field specialists to read this book because he is reviewing, for example, work of Timbergen and Lawrence, but he is not making his independent claim. What he is focused on is some new ontological foundation of ethology, I would say. And already before this, from 1948, and his Animal Forms and Patterns, he begins to question some parts of Darwinian theory. And in the second edition of this book, he introduces the term of non-addressed phenomena. And I believe, yes, we will talk more about this tomorrow. And it really seems that this notion is established properly for the task of, let's say, questioning the Darwinian paradigm. I should also mention that he was in close collaboration with theologians, for example, Karl Barth or Karl Jaspers, who were also based in Basel. And it's quite visible why they were interested in his work, because Portmann claimed that humans have special position in the world, and once again this is connected to this concept of social uterus. That means that we are the only beings in the world who are truly dependent on the whole system of social relations, history, and specific developmental constraints of the age when we are born. So we will later on this concept of social difference. Now, what is very peculiar about Portmann's way of science, that he makes it really clear in his writing that rational intellect has its limits, and we should always acknowledge as scientists that we are making some claims. From time to time we can offer new theories, but we can never be sure if our theories are correct. And Portmann is specific for the positive evaluation of this. I would quote from one of his articles: in a world in which the apparatus of giving glass, the bright research laboratories and women provide an almost symbolic value, we must look at it and see how great is the darkness, out of which the light that fills the blank spaces of the detail lends up. Ivana Vajdová will talk specifically about Portmann's involvement in Erasmus circle, and Marcus will talk about his connection to Goethe's teaching. And we could say that if the scientist doesn't solely depend on rationality, he probably wants to use some emotions and claim that emotions have also epistemic value. So you can see traditional Goethe's creative imagination here. Portmann himself writes in the Gestalt about the emotions of awe, amazement, and astonishment. So if we really want to find something innovative about animal form, it's only good if we have this ability to be amazed by the animal that we came into contact with. And one of the main reasons why Portmann could be characterized as Don Quixote of biology is that he acknowledges the astonishing efficiency of laboratory inquiry, but at the same time he insists that there is problem with this development because it's missing some fundamental aspects of life. Just to give one example of his ability to really describe the fullness of the animal appearances and why his approach is sometimes called aesthetic morphology. So this is the lyrebird. I was very happy to see this bird in action in Australia. And let's listen to Portmann's words about this wonderful and truly like form specific behavior. When at rest, the male carries his tail flat like a pheasant. During ordinary daily tasks also, such as clearing out his playgrounds, the tail feathers are only slightly raised, and he sings quietly while at his business. Carving play, however, is accompanied by a complete transformation. On his free playground, he thrusts out all his ornamental feathers with a jab, spreading the two babies, the live feathers to left or low, while the soft ones in between are thrown forward over his head like a fly. The typical bird form has vanished. Corresponding to the now dominant mood of carving play, is completely transformed into flat ornament quivering surveys of spread feathers. So this is a piece of poetry, but I want to show the main aim of these investigations, that really through language which isn't afraid of, let's say, emotions and minded descriptions, we really seek to better understanding of the form of the life. Probably the most characteristic notion of Portmann's is inherent. to English it's sometimes translated as inwardness or centricity. And it's a very specific notion. There can be some critics if we should use something that is not like immediately defined in biological findings, but I think Portmann really shows that it has its use, which is not dispensable. So, what is Innerlichkeit for Portmann? It's non-dimensional, non-localized feature of a living being. We can say that it covers all physiological, sensual, and cognitive life of an organism. And what is really important, but in relation to its environment. So it's species specific, and it's also connected to Jakob's notion of that. For example, because for Portmann, Innerlichkeit is connected to physical structures, but, and this is in opposition to any sort of biology, it cannot be comprehended solely by mechanical workings of the organs. Inwardness includes moods and feelings, and these moods and feelings are displayed by postures and semantic organs. So, for example, this big feathers, the longest one which you saw the wire there, they are semantic organs. And in the case of higher animals, it's also important to say that inwardness has every time social component. So how the individual is related to the environment is also very dependent on the social structure of the species. So there is like quite it's well visible that there is connection to something inside, but it's important to add that Innerlichkeit can be studied only in connection to animal form, so the visible part, and the behavior of animals, so through its displays. And now we can quote the second important term of Portmann, it's self-expression in English. Now, this is a proposal. Like this is basically the beginning of our 3-year project on Adolf Portmann. So I'm not giving some like bold claims. It's just an offer for later discussion. But I think it's good to think about Portmann as a reformed Darwinian. Why? He has really deep acknowledgement and quite astonishing knowledge, in fact, about Darwin's work. Like we visited in March his archive in the University of Basel, and we saw many manuscripts, and Darwin was probably the most read among the biologists. But there are some more important reasons why I think of Portmann in this way also. They are both mainly focused on visible forms. We could talk about biology of displays and expression. Like, of course, Darwin made a theory of natural selection, but if you read his writing, it's actually mainly focused on descriptions of the animals, their social behavior and so on. This is well-known image of the cat by wood, which is part of Darwin's expression of emotions. And last but not least, both of them are unwilling to reduce beauty to usefulness. And Kyle will probably talk more about this from the perspective of aesthetic that maybe before the end of World War II, Portmann actually didn't have independent ontology, ontology independent on Darwinian paradigm. He wrote together with Julian Huxley, one of the founders of the Darwin synthesis, a popular book called The Beauty of Butterflies. Well, there is only short foreword written by it's most about really artistic depictions of some tropical butterflies. But there is one sentence which might be really surprising, for example, for Stanislav Komárek, and he will talk more about what Portmann means for specific tradition of, let's say, aesthetic morphology. So Portmann says that mimicry in fact provides some of the most cogent arguments for the efficacy of natural selection. So maybe they were in very good terms with Huxley in this time, and he wanted to please him. Difficult to say at this time of research. But in post-war period, I think we can say that Portmann is really searching for, let's say, reformed ontology, that some of his works after 1960s cannot be seen as only alteration of Darwinism. So he says that main function of visible organ is self-preservation, not self-preservation. And this is one of his crucial enterprises after the war. So I think that we can claim that the true adversary of Portmann's approach isn't Darwinism as such, but it's orthodox neo-Darwinism. Stephen Jay Gould talks about the hardened synthesis, like the very core of neo-Darwinism movement, let's say since half of the 60s. And we can specify the hardened synthesis by 3 points. First, it's reduction to one fundamental domain, strict genocentrism. Second, it's primacy of function before form, and we could add, as somebody who likes morphology, depreciation of the latter. And the third one is, like in theory, there is really very specific focus on natural selection. There is this very, especially in the 80s, 90s, spread metaphor of selfish genes, and generally the view of living organism is inspired by economy. There is mathematical models of cost optimization. The presentation is called On Path to Phenomenological Biology, so I should give some ground why I think that Portmann was doing something like phenomenological biology. And once again, it's rather a proposal, but we can discuss about this. So, 3 great names in phenomenology: Husserl, Heidegger, and Arendt. All of them are critics of modern technology-oriented science. And we already said that Portmann is a big fan of laboratory research, and the main reason is that he's primarily focused on the phenomena which directly enter our senses. So this is again something which seems to inspire the teaching and thinking of the main phenomenological tradition. It's also good to add to Portmann's worldview that he has strong skepticism towards eugenics and interventions into genome. Once again, I think that Heidegger, especially Heidegger and Arendt, can be characterized as technophobes, and it seems that Portmann is having his intellectual background in Western Union. But if there is one phenomenological scholar who is really important for this way of thinking about living organisms, it's Maurice Merleau-Ponty. I am not going to make any analysis of his work, but just some basic notions would do the work for us. Merleau-Ponty says that life should be studied through its bodily fundament, that subjectivity is grounded in individual bodies. It means life is always perspective. And this focus on subjectivity, on the primacy of individuality before some general specifications, is something what truly connects him with Portmann's endeavor. We can also quote from his notes from courses on Collège de France, which were centered around the question of nature. The characterization of human by Merleau-Ponty is that before being reason, humanity is another corporated. And this is just in perfect accordance with Portmann's conception of social interest. So Portmann says that right from the gestation, the fate of us as humans, as beings which are erected, which have reason, and which are dependent on culture, without culture. So this is somehow ingrained to our corporeity already in the second month of gestation, and he's making a description of our spine cords. So like the mental parts and like our formal sociality and so on isn't something that is just added to some preliminary phases on evolution or development, but it's fully ingrained in our very corporate. This is quotation from Animal Forms and Patterns in Gestalt. Similarly, for many animals, the correlation between the shape of the body, its color and the design must be appraised as a special organ of reference in relationship to the holding eye and to the central nervous system. The eye and what is to be looked at form together a functional unit which is fitted together according to rules as strict as those obtaining between food and digestive organs. So, for somebody who reads Merleau-Ponty, this is also something that, from the first view, strikes on the similar background. So the relationship between beholding eye and the animal form or human form is something we need to take into account. That it's difficult to say if there is first the form as such or sensual organs. They are all interlinked to one unity. And if we make just a very short submerge to ontology of Merleau-Ponty, So I probably forgot to say one important fact. So the core of phenomenology is interested basically only in humans. But Merleau-Ponty is doing this step towards philosophical acknowledgement of non-humans. So he wants to say what is the difference between humanity and animality. And in his investigations, he introduces the notion of interanimality. And the way to this label was through intersubjectivity, and subjectivity is too mental oriented, so he made another step to intercorporeity, but still corporeity in phenomenological thinking, or most of phenomenologists would think of human bodies, so he made this final step to interanimality. And there are just very brief descriptions in his notes, like it's not a coherent essay that would display what interanimality precisely is and what is not. But if we choose some of his characterizations, interanimality is an ontology of relations, not separated beings. And the animal body can be characterized as an organ of the foreother. This is another quote from his notes on nature. So if you compare this with the citation of Portmann from Gestalt, that's really something which goes in accordance. So my claim is that inherently kind is a species-specific subjectivity of an individual animal, and similarly to program of Merleau-Ponty, we can say that it also includes a social component. That if we perceive it as a being, it means that it's something which is there for the other. And senses which are also like intrinsically connected with this notion of identified are to perceive the appearances of conspecifics. That is the primary reason, but also to prey and enemies. And Merleau-Ponty is also making connection of his program to Jakob von Erskill's notion of Umwelt, and we will hear more about Umwelt by Erin and Carlo after lunch. Another quote from Portmann, which is somehow questioning the core of Darwinism. Attraction to other members of the species precedes all hostility and rebellion. So once again, this is something that is somehow parallel to Merleau-Ponty's way of thinking. Sociality means living together, bodily founded coexistence of conspecific elements. So we are at the conclusion. It's time, which is I'm really happy of. So Portmann, phenomenology, and modern science. So we have started with the quotation from Kuhn's classic, the structure of scientific theories, and another proposal of mine, how to solve this problem that Portmann is doing, like modern science, reasoning, philosophy, is to think of his endeavor as a pre-paradigm in life sciences or for life sciences. So preparadigm for Kuhn is something which is characterizing the task of, let's say, natural historians before the established and very formal, it's also, let's say, mathematically tools informed way of classical science. And I think that in this perspective, especially data and morphology, can be seen as very useful source of empirical findings. Analytic philosophers could also talk about the context of discovery in this sense. And I think that the main aim of Portmann was really similar to phenomenology, because he seeks for the interpretations that are in accord with the world of human primary experience. This is a very important domain. So he can understand primary in two ways. First, as an attempt to reconcile our essential orientation with scientific explanation. And for this, if we once again commemorate this description of Weilberg, the specificity of individual cases is often more valuable than causal explanation of general appearances. And the second sense of primary here is temporal. It means that we should retain access to primordial world, which was historically before modern scientific conceptualization. And in the writings of Portmann, I think this is well established by his notion of Ptolemaic and Copernican man. So he doesn't opt for either pre-scientific mode of thinking on scientific, but his main aspiration is to keep these two ways of thinking about the world together and in balance. Thank you for your attention. We have no story-trained phenomenologists here who would kill me.
I have a short question. I have the impression that in Portmann there are two ways you can speak of philosophical anthropology. In the first phase, the first way is linked to the idea of the Sonderstellung, the special position, like in Gehlen and other authors. But afterwards, when you say that humanity is another corporeity, this is not automatically to be understood in terms of Sonderstellung. It could be just another discontinuity in the realm of living being. And this, I don't know, it's just an impression because this is my first confrontation with Portmann.
Thank you very much for this question. So, philosophical anthropology could be really characterized as the endeavor to show that humans have specific place in the evolution of life. And I think Portmann would also sign under this program. But on the other hand, in the writings of some philosophical anthropologists, and I would include Gale and also Schelle, we can see that really they want to show that we are, as humans, on a higher degree of development in almost all possible senses. But this is not what Portmann would probably like to say. And I think that once again, probably the easiest way how to demonstrate this is how these very specific and minute descriptions of the life of animals. So he really wants to show that every species has unique social life, that there is quite often surprisingly high degree of freedom in behavior, that not everything is so completely rigid. But still I would say that Portmann really is a part of this tradition of thinking in philosophical anthropology.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you very much. I've got a question about the topic you talk about Merleau-Ponty as a possible source for what Portmann is doing. I was thinking today Merleau-Ponty is very much an inspiration for what is called, let's say, embodied cognition and stuff like that.
Embodied cognition.
Yeah. On the other hand, we have things that are called like embedded or extended cognition. The difference is mainly that in embodied cognition, it's still a body-centered account of cognition. While in embedded or extended cognition, the environment is actual part of my cognitive processes. So, to say very stupidly, I think with my iPhone as well as with my brain. So, cultural surrounding is really part of my social, moral, and cognitive achievements. And I think this distinction fits very well with what Plessner said about humans and animals. The animals have this, the central notion is positionality. So it's very much centered on the body, its way of behaving, its surrounding. But for human beings, it's eccentric positionality. So the center of our existence is being embedded in a social environment and first in social truth. So from this perspective, I would think that Plessner is like the main influence of Portmann's thinking about animals and humans, given this distinction. And it might be helpful to think about embodiment as a term to see him coping with animal life and extendedness or embeddedness as his way of coping what human beings are. Because it makes a strong difference there.
Okay, so thank you very much for this note. Yeah,
it's not a question, it's more like a comment.
I think I can agree on this. Like this notion of corporate and its connection to our social life and also to the possibility of culture is very general one. Like probably we could make an anecdote that even if we make efforts repeatedly and really very well-informed efforts to communicate with chimpanzees and learn their language, they are not able to get until some basic stages because it's not part of their corporate. So in this very general notion, there is, I think this connection in the world of its own, but at first time.
Just another reflection or connection with modern tendencies in anthropology and more specifically research into personality or the personality studies in anthropology which also engage other species. And there is this term which is called the sort of the individuality term, or that the personalities are seen not as like some individual beings, but really constituted of relations. But in this connection, I was thinking of this inner, I don't know how you explained it, that this is as if for someone else already. But it seems that for Portmann still there is this extra. It's not only still that the self is, or the inner kind is constituted by the potential relations, but there is still this, some extra like self left over, which somehow makes it some sort of essentialism there. How do you feel about this?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I must say that we still need to read more about Portmann with our colleagues to find the answer. From his work on animals as social beings, it's quite clear that this social part and relations with other, especially with other conspecifics, it's really something which highly influence this sphere of inner vitality. But yes, I think that main connections with the environment, for example, like how you perceive time, how are you able to orient in the environment, for example, with migratory birds. So it's something which is the general form, and it's same in basically same in every individual. So yes, I think that your comment targeted on the part of it, that this ontogeny of relations isn't something that would be the primary source for how to talk about inner vitality. But it's important that we cannot think of it without the relations to the others. So, as often with Portmann, like there are no strict definitions. Sometimes it's rather like holistic concepts, like the way the art of descriptions and interpretation are always part of it. Like the terms are a bit open for later interpretations, which is for me basically good sign. But of course, it's according to individual taste.